Oh, this week's project and the next on my pile that needs looking at is my landing crafts. The string you see in here, that's for some ties on the side of the boats later, much later. And then I've got the figures for putting on the Higgins boats. There's 2 on each one. I bought a pack of 6, so they'll need painting up. And what I've got is 3 of the Higgins boats, and 2 of the mechanised craft, you know, for your tanks and stuff. So what I'll do is I'll start with the Higgins boats on the basis there's only one actual piece of wood. I'm figuring it'll be fairly simple to put together, so most of it's going to be, you know, the finishing work, the painting and everything that's going to be the big issue. So let's just get one open anyway and have a look, see what we've got. These have been waiting for some time. But as I say, I am trying to methodically work through that big pile that you saw in, I think it was, I don't know whether it was the Christmas video or the first one of the year, where it showed you all the things I've got outstanding that I need to look at. And I am gradually getting through it. Let's just pop some of these bits out to start with. I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll pop these out. There's no need for you to sit and watch it. And what I'll do is I'll bring you back when I've got everything out and ready. Right, so that's everything popped out. I think everything's there. I've left nothing on the sprues. So, first pieces. That's that one. That's going to go in there. Right. Unfortunately, I've not got a very small glue, so I'm going to have to try and cope with this one for now. A little while since I made a Sarissa kit, actually. Right, let's put this in place. that bit. It's a bit clumsy having this glue, I've got to be honest. Steering wheel. There we go. This bit, before that sets in place, needs to go into that. Right, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let this bit dry, because then we're going to attempt to put the outside card on. So I want this to have set first. Right, I'll bring you back in a minute. Right, I think it's dry enough. I'm going to get myself some of this little masking tape out, because I think that might come in handy for this bit. So I'm going to run some glue along this bit. Right. I'm just going to tack this in place for now to stop it moving. I can peel these off because it's not going to damage the card. That's that first one in place. Right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let that dry because I don't want to be dislodging this when we're doing the next piece. This bit might be a bit tricky because you've got to now feed this top panel onto the cardboard lugs. Obviously I want a bit of glue once it's in place. Right. I gotta find all the cardboard lugs. That one's on. 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 Oh, that went better than I thought. Right, so let's put these next sections on. And these are to cover that front space. this extra glue off. There we go. You see how it fills that gap there though? Where the card meets it, it butts up really nice now rather than that little gap you can see on the other side, look. So I've got to fit that one on now. Tight fit, at least it ain't going to come apart. I can now glue these rings in place. Right, let's have a look. Yep, that's them. So I glued these shields. I'm not quite sure why they didn't do these bits in wood, to be honest. Yeah, these bits look. I mean, it's not a problem. They're on and everything, but Why weren't they wood? You'd think they would be, really, because obviously it's a place that's going to take high impact if you dropped it or knocked it. Don't really make sense to make them out of card. Anyway, that they are. Right, we can put all these little lugs in as well. Right. We're getting there. Little pegs here. I'm going to put them on there to make sure that that bonds. But at the same time, it don't put too much pressure on it either. Right, that's it. Let's move this that way. So that's the first Higgins boat complete. I'm going to do is I'm just going to let that dry and make sure it's stuck to the card. And what I'll do now is I'll get the other two built up off camera to the same level. And when I've done that and we've got them all to the same stage, we'll switch to doing the mechanised one for the tanks. Right, back in a bit. Right, so that's the 3 Higgins boats built. So it's time to look at the mechanised craft now. I've got 2 of these to build. So there's no card parts to this one then. Let's turn it over and have a look. Yeah, no. Okay then. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'll pop out all of the parts and then I'll bring you back. Right, so everything's popped out. So according to this, the first thing I need to do is glue part M to part N, which I believe is these 2 parts. And I've got to do them back to back, so the printed side's out either side. And align it at the top. Alright. Right. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to use a pen. Right, I'm going to let that dry a little bit before we carry on. So I'll bring you back in a minute. Right, I'm going to chance the next bit. These still ain't quite dry, I don't think, but hopefully I won't have to move them to fit this next bit. And we're fitting, what is it saying it is? Main deck G onto this assembly. I don't like to force anything, it's best to go with it slowly. That one's in place. I think I can take these pegs off now. Right, so we'll look, see what's next. G onto the panel. Slot assembly ports N and M into the holes on the side panel. Right. There we go. It's a nice tight fit. Right, what's next? Glue ports H and L to the outside of ports J and K. Same on the other side. Probably be better off putting this on with a brush, really. There we go. So far so good. Right, I'm going to let that dry for a little bit as well. And what I'll do is I'll get the other bits sorted out, ready to use. And then I'll bring you back. Right, so let's get these last few bits in place. And the first one is P, which is obviously going to go in there to make the square. That done. Right, next part is Q, which is the deck. So let's just put in the wheel on first. I'm guessing that's going to be glued into there. Right. I thought I'd do these parts first because then I can just glue it on without having to fiddle around to get the glue in place. That's it. What I'm going to do there, just why it sets, is use an elastic band. Well, the only thing that's left over is these 3 rings, and it doesn't tell you where to fit them, but logic says they're going to go on these 3 sides, so that's where I'm going to stick mine anyway. Right. There we go. Looks good. They do a good kit, don't they, Sarissa? Right, I'm just going to let that dry now with the others. And what I'll do now is I'll build the other one up, because you've seen it now. I'll build the other one up off camera, and I'll bring you back when I get to the next stage. Right, so that's the second one built. So again, like the other one, I've put some bands around that while it dries. And just an interesting aside, I ain't going to spend too long on it, but look at all these spares I got out of it. Got some nice straights there. They could be cut for wall bases or hedge bases. Some interesting shapes. that could perhaps inspire making something. All of these little pieces and the sticks I can use to make, you know, war damaged furniture or bits and bobs for the battlefield. And also, out of the card bit, a few slats of that, which I can use to make spare roof tiles, you know, for scattering among debris. So, oh, and then all these little bits that I could perhaps use as little bases for scattered terrain. So, always check it out before you throw it away, that's what I say. Right, I'm going to get all this sorted away into my little stash. And I think we'll have to wrap this one up for this week because it's getting a bit long. So what I will do in the meanwhile is I'll get them spray painted with the primer first, and then next week we'll have a look at all the little extras, the crew, and the painting and the weathering. Right, I'll see you again next time. Bye.